What's up? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear the game? I hope you can hear me. I was messing with stuff, so I do indeed hope you guys can hear me. That would be a bit awkward. That would be a bit awkward if you couldn't hear me. My volume's kind of quiet though on my end for the game itself. Ba 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 ba. You couldn't hear me? That's not right. Well, I'm assuming you can hear me now. Well, hang on. It might help if I actually had my mic kind of facing me. There we go. It's kind of like facing towards Kalea instead of me. Didn't mean to do that. But guys, no, I don't want to load game. We gotta do the new game. If you don't like it when we click new load game. But guys, we're on the last chapter. Let's go. What was that? Ah, I love how it starts off like that. I've killed people. They were usually criminals or bandits, but it still frightened me how unaffected I was by their deaths. It always came so easily to me. I was good at it. A little too good. People told me that taking the lives of others would be hard. But I never felt that uneasiness. Not even once. It made me think that I was some kind of unfeeling monster. And maybe I am. But the time I spent with you filled me with more happiness than I could have ever dreamed of. Instead of taking lives, I could save them alongside you. It felt good to protect you. I felt needed when I knew you were relying on me. It made me feel like I was actually worth something to someone. And whenever I saw the light in your eyes, it filled my heart with a warm feeling that I've never felt before. But it was too good to be true, wasn't it? In the end, I failed you. I couldn't protect you, just like I couldn't protect my father. I don't understand. What did you ever see in someone like me? What's going on? What's going on? Tyrion? You still haven't gotten out of bed yet. It's almost noon. Oh. I guess the depression kind of hit us a bit hard after we found out that Ruby is actually all the things that the people have said she is. I think I just want to rest today. You've been saying that for the last 10 days. Someone is actually here to see you. You should really get out of bed. Is it Tamora? No. I'm still not really in the mood. Can you just send them away? That's a bit rude, but I suppose I can overlook it this time. Hey, Ari. I just like how she just walks on in. Steelwind? As the prosecutor enters your room, you immediately leap out of your bed. You try to futilely clean your unkempt hair, but you're just making it worse. Tyrion pants! Right, sorry. We'll give you some time to ready yourself. Oh my stars. I knew he was in a rut, but I certainly didn't expect this. I know, I'm really worried about him. I empathize with his situation, but it's been a month already. Have you tried speaking with him? He has opened up to you before. I did, but I think he's really broken up over what happened with Ruby. She's basically the closest thing he had to a family. I see. Perhaps he just needs more time. Ah, yeah. Oh, I didn't like that. I don't like the squeakies. After taking some time to make yourself presentable, you exit your room to greet the prosecutor properly. Sorry about that. No, I suppose the fault is mine. I shouldn't have intruded. Anyways, what brings you here? So is this like our room? Maybe best to make sure Steelwind doesn't wander up there. Okay, so this isn't our room. This is our fucking house. Are you doing well, Mr. Cuthbert? You seem... I'm fine. Of course. I just couldn't help but notice your absence. You haven't taken any other clients since Beatrice's trial. I'm going to be honest. I'm not even sure if I want to be a defense attorney anymore. What? I spent my whole life training to be one, but I was only doing it because someone else told me to. Did you not enjoy it? You are very skilled at it. I don't know. I've been trying to take some time to think about everything, but you still haven't found any answers. Have you considered becoming a prosecutor? Your time as my stand-in made it clear that you have the ability to. A prosecutor. Yeah, I've never considered that a year ago. But you understand now, there are criminals who need to be brought to justice. And despite how difficult she is to face, Steelwind never engages in outright corruption like the other prosecutors of the Crown. If you follow her example, you could fight injustice that way. But even if you did that, you'd just be following someone else's footsteps, just like before. I'll think about it. Please do. At this point, I could use all the help I could find. Wah! Have your injuries been healing well? Yes, Nightgrave's skill in necromancy is quite remarkable. I'm glad I introduced him to House Asclepius. Asclepius? House Asclepius specializes in the study of necromancy. After Nightgrave's expulsion from the academy, I thought it was only right that he be allowed to continue his studies. Right, he mentioned that he owes you a favor. It was only logical. It would be a waste to let someone of his talents fade into obscurity. You're glad Wallace was able to continue his studies. He clearly wants to use his talents to better society. He's definitely in a better place than you are right now. Even so, should you still be moving around like this? You should take some time off to recover. As much as I would like to, there's been a recent uptick of cases of mage blight lately. Mage blight. You recall hearing about that many times. If a mage exceeds their stamina by overusing their magic, it starts to affect their mind and send them into a violent frenzy. To make matters worse, an ability has been trying to suppress information about these incidents. Right. It's not a good look whenever a mage goes on a murderous rampage. I was actually surprised to see you here, Celeste. Well, I can't just leave him alone anymore. He ticked off a criminal overlord. They're definitely going to send someone after him, and he can't really take care of himself right now. Celeste, your thoughts are leaking. Hey, get out of my head. What? It's nothing. I am surprised, though. Not many people slight the eye taker and live. He's known for taking swift retaliation against his enemies. We're hoping he's laying low after his plan with Beatrice fell through. That does match with the reports I've read. Supposedly, he's been absent from many of his enterprises. Either way, you're not looking forward to dealing with him. Yeah, I don't think you have to. He's a bit dead. It's bad enough that you're already on the nobility's bad side. By the way, Tyrion, Ruby sent another letter. Do you want to put it with the rest? Right. Have you spoken to her since the trial? I see. That does explain her recent mood. Right, you two probably see each other a lot. I've prosecuted a few of her clients recently, but it's clear she's not nearly as threatening as before. Could we talk about something else? Of course, my apologies. Oh, the tea's ready. Oh, thank you. Some tea sounds lovely right now. Right, I was totally making it for you guys. Such is life. She walks to the cabinet in your kitchen and she takes out two more teacups. You guys better enjoy this. These are my last bags of... Whoa. As she walks over to you, she slips on a scroll case that you left on the floor. She regains her balance, but the teacups slip out of her hands. The buoyant liquid is airborne and is heading right towards your face. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce that word. Celeste reacts immediately and points her index finger at the tea. Her magic takes hold and the tea freezes just inches from your face. She breathes a sigh of relief and she brings the tea back into their cups. You really need to clean this place. I'm your bodyguard, not your maid. Right. Sorry about that. That was shaped liquid, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, we seen this used in the first trial. Is how what's-his-fuck killed her dad. Oopsies, I made a mistakeys and forgot to turn the thingy on. One sec. Oopsie dipsies. Wrong one. There we go. And the one that was just redeemed. There we go. Bye-bye. Meow. Oh, I never expected you to... I know, but it's just too convenient not to have. She's really opened her mind about learning new spells. You remember when you first met her. Back then, she only knew how to cast Mage Blade. She hated magic back then. You never imagined how diverse her repertoire would become. Another visitor? I'm already up. I'll check it. Well, whoever they are, I'm not giving up any more of my lotus tea. You open the door and don't see anyone, but there's a letter in your mailbox. You take a closer look at the envelope. It's sealed with candle wax. There's a crest on it. It's the insignia of House Pierce. Uh-oh. You quickly open the letter and read it. Despite supposedly being written by a noble, the paper has been torn in half, but the message is clear. I hope you understand. I would have never contacted you unless I had no other choice. Garrick! I know the truth behind McCoy's true parentage, and I'm aware of how vital this information is to you. As you know, my execution is scheduled for next month, and I'm running out of time. I want to trade this information with you. In exchange, you will grant me my freedom. Meet me in the private prayer room within the Grand Cathedral of the Scald Lord at 2 p.m. You will save me from my fate, or else. What the fuck? Okay. If he thinks for a second that we even think of helping him, I know how you feel, but aren't these the answers you've been looking for? I don't care. We're not going to help him. That was never an option, but there's clearly more to this. I agree. How was he able to find out in the first place? The truth is, Celeste, I've also been looking into your parentage. What? Why didn't you say anything? I'm sorry, but I didn't want to raise your hopes. And I was apparently right to do so. I couldn't find any information regarding your birth. So if you couldn't find anything, how is Pierce able to? House Pierce is low on the political hierarchy. He doesn't have access to the resources I do. He does own the land the McCoy Tavern is on, but frankly, this whole situation is quite suspect. And why would he ask for my help? I was the one who indicted him in the first place. Even if I did agree to help him, it would be nearly impossible for me to get him an acquittal. He must be desperate. His execution is scheduled for next month, after all. It's possible that he reached out to Tamora as well. Still, I can't believe he'd set up a meeting at the Grand Cathedral today of all days. Why? What's happening there? I'm sorry, but it's not my place to tell you. Aria, can I talk with Tyrion alone for a minute? Of course. I'm sure you have much to discuss. I actually also have business at the cathedral today. I can't believe he'd use that as an opportunity. I'll be taking my leave. I'm sorry. I'm sure this is just bringing up bad memories for you. We should meet with him. What? We're not going to help him, obviously, but I had an idea. He's probably really scared of his execution, right? And he's desperate enough to ask you for help. I suppose that's true. So think about how stressed he would be if you showed up and refused to help him. I could use the Eye of Horus on him. We can get the info we need without having to give him anything. But are you really okay with this? You'll have to see him again. Yeah, I'll manage. And it'll be worth it if we can finally get the answers I'm looking for. You've already gotten her hopes up, but there's no guarantee that he actually knows the truth. Ah, my nose is itchy. He could just be bluffing to get you to help him. But if he does know, you can't just ignore this. You need to verify his claims yourself. Whoa, pretty. Wow. So this is the Grand Cathedral of the Scaled Lord. Have you never been here before? I thought you spent a lot of time in Rathlum. The Church of Bahamut wasn't that popular in my hometown, and I've never been the religious type. What about you? It never really caught on with me. And apparently my roots are more celestial than draconic. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He certainly has the looks for it. Your thoughts are leaking again. Can you stop? I can't exactly turn it off, you know. Do those mental exercises I taught you. Ugh. As you approach the Grand Cathedral, you see a large blockade guarded by legions of the King's Guard. It's closed off. Is there some kind of event going on? You recall Steelman mentioning that she was heading here as well. The nobility must be using the cathedral grounds for something. It might explain why Pierce wanted to meet you here. It's probably secluded from prying eyes today. Tyrion Cuthbert, as you approach the blockade, one of the knights notices you. He glances at you and Celeste. We've been expecting you. I see. You exchange glances with Celeste, but you both enter the cathedral grounds. The main building is massive, yet mostly empty. Ah, sorry guys, I really have an itchy nose. Itchy, itchy. It feels like the skin on my nose is just dried up or something. Who knows? You only see a few people within, and most of them are quite familiar. You spot LaFay and Miriam as you head further into the room. They both avoid eye contact with you, but it doesn't seem to be purely out of resentment. As soon as they see you, they move their conversation elsewhere. It's clear they still have mixed feelings about how you convicted their sister. In another corner of the room, you spot Lloyd von Sanctus speaking with another individual. She seems to be someone of equal social standing. She's pretty. You feel like you've seen her somewhere before, but you can't quite remember where. As soon as you enter the room, von Sanctus flashes a quick look of disdain at you. You see him slowly move his conversation out of the room as well. And finally, you see Lucio Stillwind speaking with his daughter, along with the two princes. They seem to be speaking with another individual that you haven't met before. When he notices you, his gaze narrows, and he stares at the two of you warily. Aster especially seems surprised to see you here. He and Lucio ask the prosecutor something, but you can't quite hear their conversation. When she responds, Asta raises his eyebrows and Lucio's expression darkens. What's going on here? This is a little awkward. Yeah. But we have some time before our meeting with Pierce. You want to do some sightseeing? Oh, are you asking me out? We are literally already out. Sure, why not? I picked up this map from the entrance. We can just use it to navigate through the area. Map of the Grand Cathedral. I'm also a little interested in what all these nobles are doing here. It is strange. Perhaps someone can tell you more. Like who? I think I saw ARIA over there. We should go say hi. As you approach the group, the Grand General and the unnamed noble stare at the two of you. You the king? You must be king. I think you king. Hello. The nobleman looks at you and then at Celeste. He silently scans the two of you. It's as if he's trying to read something. He then walks away without a word. Rude. At this point, I'm kind of used to it. Mr. Cuthbert and Miss McCoy, I'm surprised to see you here. What? I thought you were the one who invited them. I'm sad to say that I didn't. Although I am happy to see you two nonetheless. What brings you to the Grand Cathedral today? We were actually invited by another noble. We have a meeting with him. What? None of the people here are allowed to invite guests. Why didn't the guards stop you? Oh, they said they were expecting us. What? It was Lord Pierce who invited them. Pierce? That little? And to think, I granted his request for temporary release. I'm sure he meant no disrespect by it. He probably had his reasons. How can you say that? This is a day of your... He stops himself mid-sentence and clears his throat. Make no mistake, even if he is a dead man, I will have words with him about this. Okay. I have to ask, why are all these nobles gathered here? You've taken over the entire Grand Cathedral. As you ask that question, everyone seems to tense up. The prosecutor awkwardly looks at the two princes. Prince Alaric avoids eye contact with everyone and just stares at the ground. I'm sorry, but I'm not at liberty to tell you that. It's a matter of public safety. I see. It's a little strange, but you can read the room. Prying isn't the best thing to do right now. You said that Lord Pierce invited you here? For what reason? I can't really tell you that. You will tell us if it possesses a threat to the nobles in attendance. But please, Lord Steelwind, there's no need for that. Mr. Cuthbert would never do anything to put anyone's life in danger. As you wish, Your Majesty. Is this the reason why Pierce asked for temporary release? Interesting. So Pierce's temporary release to attend whatever this is. He could have met with you all in his cell, but perhaps he wanted to be away from prying eyes. Lady Steelwind, Your Majesty, the High Speaker is ready to speak with you. Wonderful. I've been looking forward to this all day. Shall we go together, Miss Steelwind? Yes, Your Majesty, she would like to accompany you. Oh, wait. I think I can put two and two together. I think today's their wedding day. Wonderful. We shouldn't keep him waiting. Okay. Scaled Lord. How does she plan to marry him if she can't even speak properly in his presence? Honestly, I also have something important to do. Good day to you, commoners. He's going towards the restrooms. I will be taking my leave as well, but make no mistake, my men will be keeping an eye out on you two. Everyone has left the room now. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. Yeah, let's get me the fuck out of here. Oh, what are you doing here? Why do I have to keep running into you? Did you follow us? Not intentionally. Trust me, you're the last person we wanted to see today. Humph. Hush now, Von Sanctus. If they are here by chance, it is because the cosmic balance wills it so. Ugh, not this again. Sorry, I don't think we've met. I am Coraline Sybil, Lady of the House Sybil. Oh, we haven't met House Sybil yet. We just heard of them. She's pretty. So this is the head of the fourth pillar family. She's not quite what you were expecting. Between her, Lucio, Lloyd, and William, she definitely seems the most agreeable. For better or worse, you've gotten to know the other pillar families decently well. It might benefit you to learn more about her. So you're the leader of House Sybil. What does your family do exactly? How are you this ignorant? Each of the four pillars, as you commoners call them, control different branches of the kingdom's government. House Steelwind oversees national defense and law enforcement. House Frego oversees economic development and finances. House Von Sanctus handles commerce, both local and international. And finally, there's House Sybil. We handle the kingdom's legislative and judicial branches. That would also mean you're responsible for our kingdom's justice system. That is correct. Oh, wonderful. Here we go. Lady Sybil, are you aware of the rampant corruption happening within your justice system? I suppose it's only inevitable that you'd see it that way. Am I wrong? I've been involved in plenty of court cases, and it's very obvious. All your courts care about is closing cases as quickly as possible. Ah, the googly eyes. The system is corrupt to its core. The courts don't even try to hide it half the time. Yet you've prevailed against this so-called corruption in each and every one of your cases. Only against every conceivable odd, and I can't be everywhere. Do you have any idea how many commoners are falsely convicted every day? If they are convicted under my system, it's only because the cosmic balance deems it so. What are you even talking about? The cosmic balance is the natural order of things. Under it, the guilty are punished while the innocent are protected. And yet, when a noble commits a crime, they only need to waive their influence to escape any consequences. All while their victims are forced to suffer in silence. Or worse, an innocent commoner is framed for the crime. Regardless of your personal feelings, our kingdom needs the nobility to govern the people. If they were held to the same standards as commoners, our society would surely collapse. You take back what you said about her being the most agreeable of the four pillars. So you think nobles like Pierce and Von Sanctus should just be allowed to get away with murder? Are you still sore about that? I'm sure you realized it by now. I've more than paid for what happened with Jason Wine. His name was Jason Way. And if you were truly paying for your crimes, you would be in a prison right now. Von Sanctus made a mistake, but removing him from his position would only create more suffering. Our government is barely recovering from the death of William Frege. Wyvern Guard can't suffer the loss of another house leader this close to that. The way I see it, I think you nobles overstate your importance in our lives. We'd probably be fine without you. Humph. And I suppose you commoners are capable of coordinating macroeconomic initiatives. So let's say, what the fuck is that one? Oh, and I suppose you're also capable of engaging in diplomacy with the other nations. Face it, as much as you are loath to admit it, ours is a symbiotic relationship. More like a parasitic relationship. So what? The common folk should just continue to suffer for the good of our nation? Lady Sybil, the people of the kingdom you claim to be protecting are suffering because of your inaction. My inaction? You place the blame on me, but what have you done? You were once a champion of your so-called justice, but you stopped your work as a defense attorney. How many lives could you have saved in a month that you spent on vacation? It's not his responsibility to solve your mess. You have no idea how much he suffered trying to do the right thing. Celeste, perhaps you're right. He shouldn't bear that kind of responsibility alone. But every commoner has the ability to learn and practice law, as you do, Mr. Cuthbert. So why are you one of the few commoners that do so? From what I've heard, you're one of the few people who defend mages of the common folk. Every other attorney wouldn't even consider taking them as clients. Perhaps the problem lies in the common folk, then. They are fully capable of rising to defend the so-called innocent, yet they do nothing. Never mind. This is clearly a mistake. Let's go, Celeste. Yeah. Finally, thank the scale board. You okay? Yeah, I guess I should have expected that. But I never expected someone with so much power to be so out of touch with reality. Come on, let's go somewhere else. We still have some time before the meeting. Okay, we could go there. I don't want to go there. We're going to guard it. Why does the feckin' Pegasus have a party hat? You find yourself in the Grand Cathedral's garden and stumble upon a strange statue. Oh, wow, that's a little out of place. What even is it? If my memory is correct, it's a Pegasus. Ah! Hello, friends. It's Dr. Beatrice. As you inspect the contemporary piece of artwork, you're startled by a familiar voice. And it looks like she's not alone either. Along with Eris, she seems to be accompanied by both of her sisters. But Beatrice, aren't you supposed to be dead? Sorry, I wasn't trying to say. No, it's perfectly understandable. You, of all people, know what was on my blood contract. But it appears the Lady of Discord isn't going to kill me just yet. Do you really have to do that? What? Never mind. Alright. It's a little awkward speaking to the Frege sisters after everything that's happened. But they don't seem hostile, and all things considered, you prefer their company over the Civils. Although, you're still not sure how you feel about speaking with a murderer, especially one that you indicted. Now, Beatrice clearly knows more about demons and their kind than you do. You wonder if she knows anything about the Heavensborn. I want to know why the darn Pegasus has a hat on its head. So you seem to be doing well, all things considered. You mean how a demon now has ownership of my soul? Yeah, that. How can you be so calm about this? I must agree with Miriam. It's a little unnerving how nonchalantly you're treating this. I suppose it's the knowledge that everything is out of my hands now. There's something peaceful about it. That's certainly a positive way to look at it. You know, my offer still stands. I can try to help you. At the risk of your own life? Which part of the contract would you dispute anyways? You recall reading her blood contract in the courtroom that day. There was very little room for interpretation. It was airtight. The demon I signed that contract with was very meticulous about the details. I spent the last 5 years looking for any possible loopholes, but I didn't find anything substantial I could use. I don't even think disputing it is possible. I'm sorry. Don't be. You defeated me. I won't suffer your pity. I feel like we always end up randomly meeting like this, Eris. What brings you here? I requested to accompany Beatrice to this event. After all, I don't have many opportunities to enter a church like this. I can imagine. By the way, is your father still... Oh, if you're worried about him, we already had a conversation about you. I don't think he'll be accosting you anytime soon. Oh, thank you. That seems too good to be true. How'd you pull something like that off? He may look like a hardened criminal, but he's always had a soft spot. Thank you for the 3-month subscription, Monday. He may look like a hardened criminal, but he's always had a soft spot for his family. He also owed me, and I have a way of making people see things my way. She's right about that. Wait, if you're here, doesn't that mean Marunif is also? Oh, heavens no, there's no way they'd let me bring him here of all places. I left him at the entrance with the Kingsguard. If he tries to escape, that knight over there is ordered to kill me. She points to a knight that's silently watching the sisters from afar. You're surprisingly calm about this. Please, I regularly deal with demons. This is nothing in comparison to that. You really haven't changed. I suppose not. Wait, does that mean you can't see right now? How did you know which statue I was looking at? It was a lucky guess. That grotesque statue certainly makes an impression on you. Oh, Marunif just spoke with me. He wanted me to let you know that he can smell your celestial stink from the entrance. Love you too, Marunif. Oh, wow. I probably shouldn't repeat his response to that. By the way, you seem to know a lot more about these things than I do. What exactly is a Heavensborn? What? Did you seriously not know? But you know how to issue a divine edict. That's a very advanced technique. It sort of came to me in a moment. What? Anyways, I'm quite surprised you don't know about your lineage. Perhaps my mother knew, but I lost her when I was really young. I see. You have my condolences. But to answer your question, a Heavensborn is a human whose bloodline has been touched by the gods. Gods? You mean like the Scaled Lord? No, I'm speaking of the actual gods. Beatrice, you can't say that here. Oh, come off it. What's the church going to do? Arrest me? Anyways, your blood has been touched by the celestials of the upper planes. Much like my soul is bound to the abyssal hells, your soul is consecrated and tied to the heavens. The heavens? Is that why you're able to use the Eye of Horus? Is it some kind of angelic power? Make no mistake though, if you find yourself under the wrong circumstances, even you can be sent to hell. Okay. The Church of Bahamut is prominent in Wyverngard, but this is the first time I've heard of the Celestial Guards. I mean, gods. Ah, that makes sense. It's probably because of Wyverngard's bloody history of the theocracy of Luminia. The theocracy? Aren't they the nation northeast of us? Yes, the Luminites worship the celestial gods, while our people worship the ancient dragons. A few decades ago, our nation was locked in a bitter war with the Luminites. Even now, the Crown sees the celestial regions as a possible threat to our draconic culture. The church has done its best to wipe out any religions that worship the celestials. I see. But if your bloodline is blessed by the celestials, does that mean that our kids will also be Heavensborns? I suppose so. I think my mother was also a— Wait, what did you just say? Your kids. I asked if your kids will be Heavensborn. No. You said are. You said are. I have the locks. Oh, I must have misheard you then. I have the our kids. Our kids. I object. Oh, wow. If only you were always this easy to lie to. Anyways, I'm a little curious about the theocracy of Luminia. If they worship celestials there, would I find other Heavensborn there? Heavensborn aren't that common there either. Frankly, I'm surprised there's even one Heavensborn living in Wyverngard. How did your bloodline even find its way here? I suppose I don't really know. My mother never told me much about our ancestry. That makes sense. If the Church of Bahamut knew that you were here, they would have definitely hunted you down. Great! The last thing you need is another faction that wants to kill you. Anyways, travel into and out of Wyverngard is technically illegal. And I doubt Lord Steelwind would make an exemption for you. He is an old veteran of the Great Luminite War. Veteran? Vet! Oh no. I hate the vet. I'm not going. You never take me alive. Arf, 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 arf. You all watch as Tracker frantically runs through the garden, barking loudly. LaFay chases him as he runs towards someone. I should probably go help her. It's almost 2 p.m. anyways. We should head to the prayer room. Thank you for answering my questions, Beatrice. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you with your situation. Of course. Let's go, Celeste. All right. Try not to look so down. It's almost time for the main event. Why did you bring me here? Oh, who knows? Ugh, my nose. Whatever you're planning to make me do, please. Please don't make me harm my sisters. You're in no position to make demands. You'll just have to see for yourself. Stay safe, Mr. Cuthbert. Oh dear. Well, off to the prayer room we go. Are you ready? Yeah. At least, I hope so. If it becomes too much for you, don't hesitate to leave. I only need a few moments to look into his mind. No, I'm the one who asked you to do this. And I'm not going to leave you alone with him. All right. That's what you want. Blah. Tyrion? Yeah? Thank you for doing this. It really means a lot to me. Of course. This will finally give you the answers you've been looking for. It's not just that. You've done so much for me since I met you. You got me acquitted. You helped me work through my grief from my dad. It feels like I can never repay that. What are you talking about? For the past few months, all I've been doing is relying on you. I generally don't know what I'd do if you weren't a part of my life. I should tell him. Tell me what? Get out of my head. You're really bad at guarding your mind. You know you can tell me anything, right? ARIA. How long have you been standing there? Well, I knew you'd be here around this time. I wanted to wish you luck, but then you two seem to be in the middle of something. I didn't want to interrupt. Don't stop on my account. I'll just get out of your way. As she awkwardly skitters away, you see something fall out of her pocket. Oh, ARIA, you dropped your rune stone. As she picks up the rune stone, she accidentally activates it. An image of a piece of evidence appears for a brief moment, but she quickly hides it. But not before Celeste sneaks a peek at it. Uh-oh. Oh, I see. Celeste, don't just invade her privacy like that. Don't be like that. I'm really happy for you. Thank you. Good luck. A part of you really wants to know what she saw. But one of you has to exercise some self-restraint. But I don't want to be the one to to exercise some self-restraint. Anyways, let's go meet with him. Yeah, let's do this. I can tell him after. Ah, you finally arrived. I suppose this means you finally decided... Wait, you too? We got your letter. Letter? What letter? You sent us a letter, Pierce. It said that you knew who Celeste's parents were. I did send that letter, but not to you two. What? I don't like this. And so the final act begins. I've been waiting for this. What the hell are you doing? Have you gone mad? No, what are you doing? Stop! Lady Steelwind? What are you? Is this also the will of the cosmic balance? What is going on? Come on, just tell us the truth, Pierce. You were the last person I would give this information to. He's getting more and more stressed. Just a little more and you'll... As you interrogate him, you suddenly hear a loud crash outside the room. What was that? I'm going to take a look and see what's going on. What? Are you just going to leave us here? He's right. We don't know what's going on. We should stay together. Don't worry. There are 2 guards outside, and they're from the King's Guard. You'll be fine. That's not what I'm worried about. But I'll trust your judgment. What? It's been almost 10 minutes since Celeste went to investigate the noise. Pierce seems extremely on edge. He's sitting at one of the tables and impatiently tapping its surface with his fingers. So, you never intended to send that letter to me? Who did you send it to then? Oh, as if I would even tell you that! Luckily for you, he should have accumulated enough stress by now. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Even if I wasn't the intended recipient, you said that you knew who Celeste's biological parents are. Who are they? Are you seriously focused on that now? It's far too important. It's my only bargaining chip. Answer the question, Pierce. What was that? Somnia. What is this? A blue luminous vapor enters the room. As soon as it makes contact with you, you suddenly feel extremely fatigued. The fuck is going on? Damn it, it's a sleep spell. Okay. I miscalculated. No, if they got here, that means Celeste. You try your hardest to stay conscious, but the spell is too powerful. You feel your body slowly drooping to the ground. No. Beatrice? Did Beatrice look a little transparent to you guys? Oh, wait a sec. Oh, no. Yeah, this is the right one. Rion. Tyrion! What? Celeste? Tyrion, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have never left you alone with him. Hey, it's okay. Tears are streaming down her face. She was clearly worried about you. You try your best to comfort her as you look around the room. What happened? How long were you knocked out? As you looked around, you see several other people with you. Commander White is leading a group of knights. They all have their weapons drawn and pointed at someone. It's Prosecutor Steelwind? Ain't no damn way. Commander, I understand your position, but there has to be another explanation. Look, Your Majesty, I get where you're coming from. But from what the witnesses have told us, it has to be a case of MAGE blight. You look around the room and see a pool of blood at the end of one of the tables. Celeste, where's Pierce? Tyrion, I don't know how to tell you this, kid, but Garrick Pierce is dead. What? We're honestly surprised that you're okay. But who? You look at the knights who all have their weapons pointed at the prosecutor. Wait a minute. You think Steelwind did this? It wasn't just Lord Pierce, Mr. Cuthbert. We also found the bodies of Lord Von Sanctus and Lady Sybil. Jeez! What the fuck?
the fuck?
Not to mention a bunch of the Kingsguard have gone comatose. Comatose? I don't want to believe it, but several people saw Steelwind acting off at the scenes of each of the murders. We also found her unconscious here, and Pierce's body was lying next to her. No, it wasn't her. I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She was the one that knocked us out. Beatrice? What the hell is going on? Commander White, you need to put me in a holding cell. It needs to be one with an anti-magic field. What? I'm a danger to everyone here. We need to go now. What are you talking about? Now is not the time. Do it, Commander. Right. You watch as the Inquisition arrest Steelwind and escort her out of the room. Damn it, what happened? I know you have many questions, Mr. Cuthbert, but we should make sure that you're okay. Yeah, there's a necromancer in the nave. They have a point. You have no idea what happened while you were asleep. You follow their suggestion, but not before making a note of the current time. It's 3:12 p.m. So, how's the weather, my guy? Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, except... What? What's wrong with him? If you would just let me finish. There appears to be a trace of necromancy on you, Mr. Cuthbert. Necromancy? It's probably nothing. Does your assistant cast any spells on you? Oh, right. I used healing magic on him when I found him unconscious. Ah, I expected as much, but it never hurts to make sure. Anyways, nothing seems out of the ordinary. You're quite healthy. You should be fine to go about your business, but please speak with me again if you experience anything out of the ordinary. Thank you. I am you're the person that What's-His-Face is working with. And there are no needs to thank. No thanks needed. My apprentice apparently owes you a lot. Apprentice? Wallace Nightgrave. I believe he was one of your clients a few months ago. Oh, right. Steelwind did mention that she introduced you to. Okay. Speaking of Steelwind, I really find it hard to believe that she did this. Mr. Cuthbert, Mage Blight isn't exactly a benign condition. When it takes hold of a mage, it doesn't matter what kind of person they are. Violent behavior is almost always a result of the delirium it puts them in. It's unfortunate, but mages have to be held responsible when cases like this happen. Unless someone is framing her. Tyrion, I fought her. What? Do you remember back when we heard that weird sound? I went outside to see what was going on. I saw her outside, and the guards there were all unconscious. I tried to ask her what was going on, but she didn't say anything. She just attacked me. Oh dear. Oh dear. So, what was her emotional state like? Well, she was pretty cold and emotionless. It almost looked like she was sleepwalking. That's actually pretty strange. What do you mean? When someone is affected by Mage Blight, they enter a state of extreme psychosis. Psychotic episodes like that raise the affected mage's paranoia to ridiculous levels. That's why these cases always end up in violence. If she was affected by Mage Blight, she shouldn't have looked anywhere near as calm as you're describing. Hi, Cal. Welcome to the chat. And welcome to the stream. You might be onto something, Mr. Cuthbert. If what you're saying is true, there has to be more to this. You're planning to defend her, aren't you? At the very least, we need to find out what actually happened. I feel like there's more to this than we're seeing. But you saw her, right? Commander White, you need to put me in a holding cell. It needs to be one with an anti-magic field. Okay, I go save. Greetings and salutations. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat. I think I just saved twice. Oh well. Double save. Ow, my throat. What? I'm a danger to everyone here. We need to go now. She wanted them to arrest her. Right. It's as if she thought she was a danger to others. Regardless of what really happened, she clearly believes that she was responsible for this. But there's no way that she'd do something like this. Something else is happening here. And you will get to the bottom of this. You're not sure where each of the murders occurred, but the Inquisition should be able to tell you more about that. You'll also need to speak with Steelwind. If she really was affected by Mage Blight, she should be able to remember what may have caused it. But anyways, the prayer room is the room that you're most familiar with. You'll probably want to start with there. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I didn't mean to save twice, but you know, double saving never hurt anybody. All right, we got 3 murders to investigate. You arrive at the prayer room. It's now swarming with knights from the Inquisition. You find yourself staring at the chalked outline of where Pierce's body once was. You can't help but feel a little uneasy. You've been to plenty of crime scenes before, but even if you were unconscious, you were here when the murder happened. It's a little unnerving knowing how close you came to death. Are you okay? Yeah. But now's not the time for an existential crisis. Steelwind's future counts on you figuring out what happened. Thank you for the hydrate, Mandy. I drank too fast. Blah. You still don't know what happened after you fell unconscious. The Inquisition believes that Steelwind broke into this room, knocked you and Pierce out, and then killed them. When you remember it clearly, you saw Beatrice before you lost conscious. There's more at play here than you realize. Celeste also fought Steelwind after Beatrice knocked you out. Perhaps she can tell you more about how she was acting. First, let's examine the room.
Arcanum.
Why is there like 3 things here? There are traces of conjuration magic all over the room. That must have been left by Beatrice's sleep spell. Oh, there's a trace of transmutation here. It's all over the area around his body. Interesting. Did the murderer wound him with transmutation magic? There's a trace of necromancy on the ground here. It's probably from when I tried to heal you. Ah, okay. There's a chalk outline where Pierce's body probably was. It looks like he was sitting against this altar when he died. And the bloodstain seems to imply that the fatal wound came from his chest. The autopsy report would really be helpful right here. You should ask the commander for a copy of it next time you see him. Yeah, we're gonna need 3 of them. There are 3 stained glass windows. They look quite nice. Well, that was boring. Anything else? There are lanterns hanging around the room. They're still lit. That was also boring. Okay. Let's review what happened. Before Beatrice knocked me out, we heard a commotion outside, and you went to investigate. Can you tell me more about your fight with Steelwind? Or what was she like? Well, she wasn't her usual self. It's like she was in some kind of daze. I noticed it before she attacked me. Something was wrong with her. Oh yeah, and she didn't even respond to me when I tried to talk to her. It's like she didn't even recognize me. But from what Lord said, she would have been acting more erratically if she was affected by Mage Blight. It's possible that you fought someone disguised as her. I guess that's possible, but whoever they were, their magic was still extremely powerful, and several members of the Four Pillar families were assembled here. It could have been one of them. We should speak with Commander White when we get the chance. Well, 2 of those members were just killed. We get to meet Lady Sybil for literally a chapter and a half, and she dies. The Grand Cathedral was closed from the public for whatever was happening here. They probably have a list of everyone who was present when the murders happened. This means that whoever did this was one of the nobles that was here today. Beatrice can cast invisibility, so I doubt she'd let you see her. But did you see her at any point when you were fighting Steelwind? Celeste? Sorry, I don't know. I was too focused on staying alive. I've actually been meaning to ask you about that. Aren't you really strong? I've never even seen you break a sweat in a fight before. Well, she was really tough. It was terrifying, honestly. It was mainly her magic. I've never fought someone with spells that powerful before. She didn't hurt you, did she? No, but it got pretty close. I think she realized that she couldn't beat me, so she just ran past me and into the prayer room. So her real target was Pierce? But why? Did you see the moment she murdered Pierce? No, when I arrived at the prayer room, I saw you and Steelwind unconscious on the ground. 1 second. And Pierce was already dead. And I'm assuming you didn't see Beatrice anywhere. No, she wasn't there when I arrived. How did she leave the prayer room without Celeste noticing? Did she even turn herself invisible? We showed up at the prayer room for the meeting at 1:50 p.m. But we interrogated Pierce for about half an hour. That's when we heard the commotion outside, and you went to investigate it. Right. And I think Beatrice knocked me and Pierce out 10 minutes after that. How long did you fight Steelwind before she pushed past you? We definitely fought for a while. It must have been at least 20 minutes. After that, she gave up on fighting me and ran into the prayer room. Which means that Beatrice somehow got into the room during your fight. That discounts my theory of her disguising herself as Steelwind. You regained consciousness at 3:12 p.m. That means that you are knocked out for more than 40 minutes. There are still a lot of unknowns about what happened. You'll need all the pieces if you want to put this puzzle together. Anyways, it looks like you found everything you can here. You should move and take a closer look at the other crime scenes. Don't think... Chase! What the fuck? Did they burn him alive? You retrace your footsteps and find the common room. This was the last place you saw Von Sanctus and Sybil before everything happened. You look around and see that most of the room has been entirely scorched. You can still smell the scent of burnt cloth and flesh in the air. Ew! What happened here? Was there some kind of fire? Yeah, we think the perp lit a fire using magic. As you enter the room, Commander White approaches you. He seems to be accompanied by the typical Legion of Knights. Commander White. Hey, kid. You investigating what happened too? Something like that. We just want to figure out what really happened. You and me both. Nothing about this case makes any damned sense. I'll be honest, I could really use your help in trying to figure this out. Honestly, you're not sure who you can trust at this moment. But the commander is leading the investigation, and he's bound to have information that will be useful to you. Ugh, this whole situation is a damned mess. Has the Inquisition found any clues to explain what happened? We only have the basic stuff so far, and we've only just received the autopsy reports. That's still pretty useful. Do you have copies of them? Sure. Knock yourself out. Okay, here's Garrick's. Died at 2:45 in the prayer room. Cause of death was blood loss. A shard of frozen liquid was found stabbed through his heart. It is very likely that this was the murder weapon. The wound also shows heavy traces of transmutation magic, and traces of conjuration magic were found throughout the room. So he died how he killed Celeste's father. That's ironic. Coraline Sybil died at 2:18 p.m. Cause of death was suffocation. Her body was found floating in a nearby lake outside of the Grand Cathedral. Traces of transmutation, evocation, and necromancy magic were found on the body. Jeez. Died at 2:05, so you were the first to die. Died at 2:05 p.m. The cause of death was suffocation. The fire in the common room burnt the body too much to discern any specific wounds he might have suffered. However, a small trace of evocation magic and a burn mark were found on the victim's left shoulder. This implies the body was hit with a fire-based evocation spell. Traces of abjuration magic were found on and around the body. Wait, Pierce was killed with a frozen blade? Isn't that similar to how he killed Flintheart? Sorry, I didn't mean to. No, it's okay. It's still strange though. Why would the murderer kill Pierce using such a convoluted method? If Steelwind really was affected by Mage Blight, she wouldn't have done something like that. Alright. Anyways, the times of death also seem to tell a story. If you look at the reports, the murderer must have killed Von Sanctus, then Sybil, then Pierce, in that order. Yeah, that's our working theory too. Alright. That is crazy. This whole thing is crazy. Like shit. This ain't our last case for nothing, boys and girls. If we look at this map, we can see where the prayer room and the common room are. Lady Sybil's body was found in the lake west of here. But since the Grand Cathedral is built on a cliff, there isn't any easy way to get there in such a short amount of time. So that raises my next question. How did Sybil's body end up in the lake? The murderer threw Sybil from the balcony? The Grand Cathedral is built on a cliff over the lake, and the westward balcony just happens to be right over it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We even have a witness who saw Steelwind there. Really? Who was it? It was High Speaker... these names. Theon Archius? High Speaker. He's a shot caller of the Church of Bahamut. And he stands at the top of the religious hierarchy from what I hear. He spotted Steelwind near the west balcony and noticed that she was acting suspiciously. He called out to her, but she ignored him. So she knew that he saw her, but she didn't attack him? Yeah, he really lucked out. But if she was having a psychotic episode, he would have noticed that. From what you said, all she did was ignore him. You're right. This whole Mage Blight story just doesn't really add up. Either way, we'll just have to talk to her directly to find out more. Putting that aside, there's something else that's strange. What's that? It's about the order that the murders occurred in. What's strange about the order of the murders? The murderer killed Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce in that order. This means that the murderer went to the common room, then the west balcony, and then finally the prayer room. But if we look at the map, the murderer's route seems a bit strange. Well, I can't look at the map now, can I? This the map. This the map. So, balcony and prayer room. Where the fuck's this? High speaker's quarters. It's just a bit weird. And the murderer could have killed Pierce second. The murderer must have passed right by the prayer room before they dumped Sybil's body. Why wouldn't they just murder Pierce on the way there? Maybe they wanted to dump Sybil's body first. Or they were afraid of fighting me. Aren't you giving yourself a little too much credit? No, she has a point. Out of everyone who fought the murderer, Celeste was the only one who didn't die or fall comatose. Anyways, there has to be a reason why the murderer deliberately chose that route. Interesting route. Okay, you've created a rough outline of the murderer's actions. But the real clues will lie in how each of the individual murders occurred. And that starts with figuring out how Von Sanctus was murdered. And there's a chalk outline in the center of the room. This must be where they found Von Sanctus's body. There's even bits of ash there. It must be burnt fragments of the body. Ugh. There are scorch marks all over the room. The fire must have spread pretty far. Yeah, it was probably going for a while. No one even noticed it until Prince Alaric told the King's Guard that he saw smoke. Interesting. We should speak with him and see if he saw anything. Even now, the sunlight is shining through the stained glass windows. It looks like the fire reached them before it was put out.
Repario Arcanum.
Man, there are spots of red everywhere. Alright. There's a trace of abjuration magic in the center of the room. Do the traces overlap with the body? Kind of. It's sort of a square-shaped. Square-shaped? I can't see the traces, but there also seems to be a square-shaped outline around the body. You're right. They overlap perfectly. The area inside the square is a lot less burnt now that I look at it. I'm not sure what this means yet, but it's definitely worth taking note of. There are traces of evocation in a bunch of different spots around the room. We think the perp threw a bunch of fire-based evocation spells around to start the fire. And the King's Guard used a bunch of water-based evocation spells to put it out before this fire spread. That makes sense. With that knowledge in mind, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. Interesting. How did the Inquisition find out about the murders anyway? Did a witness come across the bodies? It all started when Prince Alaric ran up to us. He told us that he saw a fire breaking out in the common room. He also saw Steelwind there, but when he tried to talk to her, she hit him with some kind of spell. She attacked one of the princes? Yeah, but it didn't look like she hurt him. That guy from House Sassacopleus inspected him, and he told us he wasn't injured. I'm glad that he's okay, but wouldn't ARIA have used a more violent spell if she was being affected by Mage Blight? It's possible she was throwing spells randomly, and he just happened to get really lucky. I suppose that's possible. But was there anyone else nearby when this happened? I would have expected a Prince of Wyverngard to be under constant guard. Yeah, that was kind of my mistake. I ordered the knights to give him some space considering what just happened. And that would be, sorry kid, if you don't know, it's not my place to tell you. I have orders from the top to stay quiet about that. Then it looks like you'll need to ask someone higher up. It's still strange though. Why were all these nobles gathered here? Anyways, whatever the perp hit him with, it only put him in a daze. He could barely walk or talk. He couldn't even approach us until the spell had worn off. And the weirdest about it all is that he was pretty close to where we were. But for some reason, we didn't find him until after the spell wore off. That must have been traumatic. I hope he's okay. But why didn't anyone see him during this time? After he told us about what was happening, we went to put out the fires. That's when we saw a bunch of guards knocked out outside the prayer room. Did you see me? No, this all happened around 3:10 p.m. Right, that was probably well after Steelwind moved into the prayer room. Celeste must have already followed her into it. The report has been added to your notes. When you arrested Steelwind, I recall you mentioning that a bunch of guards were comatose. Did the murderer use some kind of spell to knock them out? I don't think so. And I'm just as lost as you are about that. Some of the victims didn't have any magical traces on them, so we know that they're not under the effects of a spell, but they still haven't woken up. That's odd, to say the least. Is there any common thread between the knights who fell comatose that might help us deduce what happened to them? Well, we found all of them at the locations where Steelwind was spotted. That can't be a coincidence. But he just admitted that they weren't being affected by any kind of spell. What's going on here? What is going on here? Commander White, you keep saying the perp instead of Steelwind, even though everyone else seems to think she was responsible for this. Do you also suspect that she's being framed? It just doesn't add up. If she did give herself Mage Blight, her actions wouldn't have been so deliberate. And she's definitely not the type of person to just go around murdering people. Even if she was, she's led a lot of the Inquisition investigations recently. She's investigated plenty of homicides with us, and she knows exactly how we do things. Whoever did this got the job done, but they were sloppy about it. A bunch of witnesses saw her, and she didn't even try to hide herself using her magic. So either she had Mage Blight, which doesn't match with her behavior, or she did this intentionally and wanted to get caught. Neither scenario makes any damned sense. Someone has to be framing her. And that's the only reasonable explanation. Honestly, I'm not so sure about that either. What do you mean? You saw her when we arrested her, didn't you? She wanted us to lock her up. It's like she thought she was a danger to herself and others. Right. That's the same impression I got as well. If it weren't for the witnesses' statements, I'd be sure she gave herself Mage Blight. The strangest thing is that I've never seen her that scared before. Something really rattled her about what happened. Did you follow up on what I said about Beatrice? I know she was in the room when Pierce and I fell unconscious. She has to be involved in this somehow. Well, she's already in prison, so we're already ahead on that account. But when we asked her about what happened, she said that she couldn't remember anything. That's such an obvious lie. She has to be hiding something. Normally, I'd agree with you, but she's not the only one with missing memories. Steelwind also can't remember anything. What? It looks like you'll have to speak with her about that. Anyways, what about Eris and that knight who was guarding her? Did they see anything? Sorry, kid, but Eris Illmatter has been missing since everything went down. What? Do you have any idea what happened to her? No, but I wouldn't be too worried. What? A witness of the crime is missing and possibly hurt. Look, kid, you may be a hotshot attorney, but I've been in this business a lot longer than you have. Sometimes when these things happen to civilians, they get spooked and run away. I've seen it a million times. You feel like he's not making as big of a deal as he should be. But he might have a point. Eris is the daughter of a crime lord after all. She might have gone into hiding to avoid having to speak with law enforcement. We don't have the resources to look for her, but I'm sure she'll turn up eventually. Well, I suppose we can't do anything about that now. But I still hope she's okay. Anyways, what about the knight guarding Beatrice? Surely he didn't go missing as well. And that's the thing. The knight who was supposed to be watching her is one of the people who went comatose. We found him in front of the prayer room too. Damn it. What happened to him? To make matters worse, that Frege chick knows how to cast invisibility. So even if she was telling the truth, very few people would have actually seen her. But her guard was in front of the prayer room. She must have brought him there somehow. Anyways, would you happen to have a recent version of her spell compendium? Sure, we already have it on record. So she knows familial bond, sleep, mend wound, send message, animate corpse, creepy, necrotic blight, invisibility, feign, death, and illusory disguise. Yep, we got all these spells back now. Bend wound. Send message. Animate corpse. Creepy. Necrotic blight. Invisibility. Feign death. Illusory disguise. Alright, there we go. Alright, I forgot how many spells she knew how to cast. It's all a little difficult to take in. I still can't believe it. After everything he did, Von Sanctus was just murdered. I'm surprised to hear that from you. Didn't he basically get away with offing Justin Way? The way I see it, he got what he deserved. That still doesn't sit right with me. No matter who the victims might have been. No one deserves to die like that. You're definitely a bigger man than I am. Anyways, Von Sanctus's autopsy report says that he died of suffocation. We think the murderer overpowered him and choked him with a rope or something. That hardly sounds like something someone would do during a psychotic episode. Yeah, the more info I get, the more I think you might be onto something. But either way, the fire that the perp started in this room burnt his body. It didn't completely turn into ash, but it was still pretty charred. So that fire would have burnt away any evidence of the minor wounds he had. Yeah, we're lucky we even discerned he was hit with an evocation spell. Right. The autopsy report mentioned that too. But if a fire was started, is it possible that he died from smoke inhalation? No, the divination spell we use always identifies smoke inhalation as death by poisoning, not death by suffocation. I suppose that kind of makes sense. But it's still a shame we can't find out how the murderer suffocated him. We still know very little about how the murders occurred. Do you have records of each of the victims' spell compendiums? They might help us understand what each of the victim was doing during the attack. Sure, knock yourself out. There's Garrick's. Yeah, he knows that stuff. Sybil's knows Slow Fall, Foresight, Strike True, Detect Magic, and Stone Skin. You know, Mage Blade, Force Cage, Send Message, and Mend Wounds. Here we go again. Prestidigitation, Conjure Light, Conjure Water, Frost Wave. Force Cage is a new one to us. Oh wait, that thing on the ground could have been Force Cage. Mage Blade, Slow Fall. This is basically the D&D equivalent of Featherfall. Foresight. True, Strike True. Detect Magic. Imperio Arcanum. Stone Skin. Okay, wow. That's a lot to work through. Yep. This is what happens when a bunch of mages are caught in the middle of a murder. Honestly, you've been lucky until now. Nevertheless, I'll need to look over each of these spells when they become relevant. You'd think you found everything you can relating to Von Sanctus's murder. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. Alright, let's go to the balcony. You arrive at the west-facing balcony at the cathedral. Supposedly, this is where the murderer threw Sybil's body into the lake. Oh, hello there. As you inspect the area, you catch the attention of an old man nearby. From his garb, he appears to be someone who works at the cathedral. I don't believe we've met before. What are you doing here? Sorry for the intrusion. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert, and this is my bodyguard, Celeste McCoy. We're investigating the murders on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. Tyrion Cuthbert, I have heard of you. He doesn't look nearly as criminal as I expected him to be. What? Judging from his thoughts, he probably hasn't heard many good things about you. But forgive my rudeness. I am Theon you're weird. You got name that I can't pronounce. High Speaker, the Church of Bahamut. So you're the one who saw Steelwind here during the murders. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? He scans you warily. I suppose there would be no harm in that. We heard that you saw the prosecutor acting strangely here. Could you tell us more about what you saw? Did it look like she was having a psychotic episode? I wouldn't go that far, but she was certainly acting strange. How did you come across her? Well, I was on my way to the prayer room. I always recite prayers from the draconic text around that time. Wait, he was heading to the prayer room? When I saw her, I first thought she was just enjoying the view of the lake. I was about to greet her, but when I approached her, I saw that she was throwing something off of the edge of the balcony. You must have seen her dumping Sybil's body. You're probably correct. I came to the same conclusion after they found that poor woman's body below us. Although, what is it? I only saw it for a second, so perhaps I'm wrong. But Lady Sybil was wearing much brighter colors this morning. Whatever Lady Steelwind threw into the lake, it looked much darker. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I can't really explain it. Perhaps I was just seeing things. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. After all, it could have just been a trick of the light. Wait, if you saw ARIA dumping Lady Sybil's body, she must have just murdered her. That means you must have been heading to where we were at the time. Oh? Were you praying there with Lord Pierce? Not exactly. What? That's not what the guards told me. The guards? Do you mean the one standing watch outside the prayer room? Yes, they told me that Pierce was praying with some acquaintances of his. They said the same thing to Lady Steelwind as well. Wait, Steelwind was there too? Yes, she appeared to be waiting for something. But anyways, I didn't want to disturb them, so I went back to my quarters to pray there. The High Speaker didn't see her fighting Celeste. She must have started her attack after he left. But why would she bother waiting? Either way, we can't exactly question those guards. Yeah, they're still comatose after the attack. Actually, what the duff? Yes. What'd I do? How did you not hear anything? It must have been because of the magical wards in my room. Magical wards? Are they there for security reasons? One sec, guys. Sorry about that, I had to clear my throat. Not exactly. I actually suffer from chronic insomnia. Even the smallest sound will wake me up at night. Years ago, I had some mages enchant the walls so sound couldn't travel through them. I can't hear anything from outside the room once I shut my door. That does sound awfully convenient, but you doubt that he'd lie about something you could so easily verify. Either way, you should make a note of this. Music loud? Okay. Uno momento. How's that? Is that better? Yeah, Leia just got comfy on the bed. Okay, let's examine. There's some kind of debris on the ground. You pick up one of the pieces and feel it in your hands. It appears to be some kind of gravel. The balcony provides a perfect view of Lake Glorin. A lot of people probably come here when the Grand Cathedral is open to the public. Well, those pieces. There are traces of transmutation on the pieces of this debris. That would imply that a spell specifically targeted or created whatever this came from. But I doubt someone created these bits of gravel. It must have broken off from something else. Maybe that ball that Lady Sybil was always holding. You believe that you found everything you can here. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. I'm moving. You can go check out the garden. You're right back at the cathedral's garden and come across that accursed statue again. It's staring into my soul. Then stop looking at it. As you move your attention away from the grotesque sculpture, you spot the Crown Prince. He's sitting on a bench guarded by some knights from the King's Guard. Oh. His brow is furrowed and he seems to be deep in thought. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert, and Miss McCoy too. What are you still doing here? We're trying to investigate what happened. We were looking around when we just happened to find you here. I see. Are you okay? Yes, I was just thinking how unfortunate this ordeal has been. I do hope Miss Steelwind is taking this well. Right, she is his fiancée after all. He must be extremely worried about her. We're trying to find out what exactly happened. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? I see. Well, I'll do whatever I can to help. You said that you two were investigating the murders? You weren't planning to defend Miss Steelwind, were you? If she would have me. She may be a competent prosecutor, but I have far more experience defending clients. Unfortunately, I think the situation is more complicated than that. What do you mean? Several house leaders died today. We can't release this information to the public. Not after the news of William Frega's death has already spread. In the course of 2 months, we lost not one, but 3 members of the Pillar families. But the trial has to happen soon, or else the magical traces left will disappear. From what I've heard, we will be holding a trial, but it will be handled privately and internally. And I'm sorry to say that you won't be permitted to serve in such a trial. Right. A majority of the nobility hates me, after all. You wouldn't be able to pull some strings, would you, Esther? I'm sorry. I'd like nothing more than to give you the opportunity to represent her, but I clearly have a personal attachment to this case. If I try to tip the trial in her favor, it will only harm her chances more. Right, I see what you mean. But even if we can't help her during the trial, we can still investigate the crimes on her behalf. Yes, I would really appreciate that. If new evidence is found, perhaps we can exonerate Miss Steelwind of the charges against her. After everything that's happened, I really need to know. Why were so many nobles gathered in one place anyways? All 4 of the Pillar families were present. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but this information could be vital in figuring out what really happened. No, I see your point. The truth is we were all gathered to mourn the death of my father, King Oliver de Wyverngard the... I'm not good with Roman numerals. Wait, the king is dead? Yes. We wanted to avoid releasing this information to the public so close to the death of William Frege. Oh my stars, you're telling me the king is dead? The king is dead. My father has been ill for quite some time, so we were prepared for this. Or at least I thought I was. I also lost my mother when I was quite young. But it's still all a little hard to take in. I'm sorry, you have my condolences. Thank you. But if King Oliver is dead, that would make you... Yes. You currently stand before King Aster de Wyverngard, ruler of our kingdom. Considering everything that's happened, he seems less than thrilled about that. I suppose that explains why all... Thank you for subscribing for 3 months in a row, Firedale. They came under the guise of paying their respects, but it's clear they all wanted to get closer to the new king of Wyverngard. I think the Fregas were the only ones who genuinely came to give their condolences. Speaking of the Fregas, I think you need to know. I saw Beatrice before I was knocked out. I think she may have been the one that killed Garrick Pierce. Why would she be there? I'm sorry, I know she's your friend, but we already know she's not above committing murder. I see. I suppose if you're saying it, it must be so. But what possible reason would she have to be involved in something like this? I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find that out. And by the way, where were you during the murders? I remember you left with Steelwind when Celeste and I arrived at the cathedral. Ah, yes. Steelwind and I left to speak with High Speaker Archius in his quarters. What was your meeting about? It was actually about our wedding. With my father's death, Lord Steelwind wanted to finally make our union official. Oh. I would congratulate you two, but considering the circumstances, I understand, and I appreciate your words nonetheless. Anyways, how long did this meeting last? I believe we spoke with him until 1:40 p.m. But Von Sanctus died at 2:05 p.m. That means she began her rampage less than half an hour after that meeting. Was there anything off about her behavior? Now that you mention it, something about her demeanor changed. We were speaking at the wedding when she abruptly left. I asked her where she was going, but she ignored me. That sounds similar to what happened when Celeste fought her. There's no way she was affected by Mage Blight. I honestly didn't think much of it at the time. I'm quite used to her giving me the cold shoulder. Right. It's possible that the steel wind the witnesses saw wasn't actually real. Doesn't that mean the steel wind that attended the meeting was also a fake? Anyway, what happened after your meeting with the High Speaker? Did you see Steelwind after that? Actually, I found myself caught up in something else entirely. At 2 p.m., I went to pay my respects at my father's coffin. But apparently, someone had set a magical trap there. What? It was a glyph of contingency. When casting the spell, the caster must choose another spell they know. The caster casts that spell, but the contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a certain condition specified by the caster upon casting the spell is fulfilled. The contingent spell takes effect immediately when that condition is what the fuck? I have heard of that spell. It's like a trap you can set, and you can infuse any spell into it. But it requires a second contingent spell to place that trap. Which spell was it? It was Force Cage, targeting me. Was the murderer trying to attack Aster too? I don't think so. They would have used a more lethal spell if they wanted to. But from the sound of it, Force Cage can't be dispelled, so Aster would have been trapped inside of it for that full hour. We think the murderer used this as a distraction. Because of that trap, the King's Guard consolidated most of their attention and forces on my location. As a result, there were fewer people guarding Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. And the ones that were there all fell comatose. They can't tell us what happens to them. The Trapped King has been added to your notes. And yet another inexplicable event is added to the list. After everything you've learned, you highly doubt that Steelwind was affected by Mage Blight. So someone must be behind what happened. But who? Anyways, it seems he's told you everything he knows. He probably didn't witness much after he was trapped by that force cage. You should move somewhere else and follow your other leads. Anything to do in the nave? She attacked a She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. What else is there to investigate? The laws are clear about what we must do. We should execute her immediately. Alaric, I thought you were the king. Alaric, the situation is of far too much import to make such rash decisions. We need to approach this calmly and carefully. As you return to the nave, you spot the young prince in an argument with that nobleman you saw earlier. Now that you think of it, you still have no idea who he is. Oh, it's you two. Your Highness. And I don't think we've been introduced. What? I see you're still as insolvent as ever. You stand before Sir Remus Virgile, Archduke and Royal Visor to the Wyvern throne. Ha, I believe he means advisor. Archduke? You didn't even know the Kingdom of Wyverngard had a title like that. Why haven't you ever heard of him before? Why are you two still here anyways? I thought the cathedral was closed for the investigation. We're investigating what happened on behalf of the prosecutor, Steelwyn. I see. Anyways, I have much to attend to. I'll be taking my leave. You sense a tinge of anxiety. Is he avoiding you? Actually, since we have you here, we have some questions for you. The both of you. Humph, you should know your place, knave. Your Grace, where were you when the murders took place? Just what are you trying to insinuate? Please, Alaric, there's no need for that. To answer your question, I was speaking with Lady Frega's familiar. Tracker? No, it was the demon who calls himself Marunif. What? Why would you want to speak with him? He was actually the one that sent for me. According to him, he had some information that was of great import to me. You didn't make a contract with him, did you? Of course not. What kind of desperate fool do you take me for? No, he gave me the information he had freely. But why would he do that? Demons are supposedly always trying to trick humans into making deals with them. Looking back, it must have been a distraction. What a fool I was. I knew he was playing with me. But I knew he couldn't tell lies, and the information he had was too important to ignore. If you don't mind me asking, what was the information about? I'm sorry, but I can't reveal what he told me. It could endanger people that I care about. But rest assured, I doubt it has anything to do with the massacre. Your Grace, we've only just met. I can't exactly just take your word for it. I suppose that's fair. But believe me when I say that I plan to take this information to my grave. That's ominous. But he's certainly intent on keeping their conversation a secret. Anyways, several members of the Kingsguard were watching us. They can verify my alibi. How long did this conversation last? I arrived to speak with him at 1:50 p.m. and I didn't leave until 3:10 p.m. So he was accounted for during the time frame of the murders. But why would Marunif go to the trouble of distracting him in the first place? Whoever orchestrated this also used a force cage to trap Aster. Were they trying to distract the forces in the cathedral? Or were they trying to keep certain people out of the crossfire? Either way, it's clear that Beatrice has a lot to answer for. Your Highness, we heard the prosecutor cast a spell on you when you saw the fire in the common room. Can you tell us more about what happened? I can't believe she attacked a member of the royal family. She is completely irresponsible with her magic. I understand your feelings about this, but we can't say for certain that she inflicted mage blight on herself. We don't even know if it was actually her. I saw her with my own eyes. Plenty of other people did too. Either way, where did this happen? It was on the path outside the common room. I saw smoke coming from the building, and I saw Steelwyn walking away from it. So this must have been after she murdered Von Sanctus. I have a feeling I already know the answer, but was she behaving erratically? No. She very deliberately cast a spell on me, which once again implies that Mage Blight wasn't behind us. Do you know which spell she cast on you? I'm not sure. I've never been affected by a spell like that before. For the magical traces on him, we know that it was a transmutation spell. Transmutation spells manipulate and change physical matter. It's scary to think about what that might do to a human body. Are you sure he's okay? Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he doesn't appear to have any lasting injuries. We're hoping the spell's effects were only temporary. Can you describe what you felt while you were affected by it? That might help us identify which spell it was. Well, I was extremely dazed and my ears were ringing. My vision was also partially blurred. It was as if my mind was in some sort of fog. Whenever I tried to speak, I couldn't even form words from my mouth. I could only make grunting sounds. I couldn't walk either, so I had to crawl on the floor. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That must have been very traumatic. But what kind of transmutation spell would do that to him? It had to be something that affected his senses. You already told us that she wasn't acting erratically. But was there something off about her demeanor? I only saw her for a moment, but she was definitely different than usual. She was completely emotionless. Yeah, that's exactly what she was like when I fought her too. It was like she was an arcane construct. Her movements were almost robotic. Oh wait, are there any arcane constructs on the cathedral grounds? No, not for lack of trying on Lord Von Sanctus's part. The High Speaker and I has specifically forbidden the staff here from using them. It would be really convenient if all this was done by a construct, again. Although, you are a little tired of seeing them in your cases. Anyways, was anyone else around when Steelwind cast that transmutation spell on you? No, she moved away quickly after she incapacitated me. And even if someone was around, I don't think I could have seen them anyways. Commander White also said that he was surprised no one saw the prince until after that spell wore off. What happened to him? That covers Alaric's account of what happened, and we even got the Archduke's statement too. But there's still one last person we need to speak to. ARIA. She and Beatrice supposedly have no memories of what happened. If it were only Beatrice saying that, I'd probably doubt it. But if Steelwind also doesn't have any memories, it becomes a lot more credible. She definitely has the missing piece we need to put this together. Are you going to the dungeon to speak with her? I am. Wonderful. I'll be accompanying you. What? As the royal advisor, I have a vested interest in the investigation. While I trust Lucio to leave no stone unturned, I hear you have quite the talent for seeing what the crown cannot. Well, it's not as if you have the authority to stop him, but you still don't know him very well. You'll need to be very wary of what you say in front of him. Off to the dungeon. Ow! Ow, I hit my knee. You arrive at the dungeon and see the prosecutor sitting in a holding cell. She seems extremely stressed, as it's as if she's trying to figure something out. Mr. Cuthbert, and your grace. Steelwind gives a wary look to the Archduke. How are you doing? As best as I can, all things considered. What brings you here? We're trying to investigate everything that happened. I see. I was wondering if you could answer some of our questions. Steelwind, I know your situation is pretty grim right now, but you know you can trust me. You're not the person I'm worried about. At this moment, I don't even know if I can trust myself. What? We heard that you don't have any memories of what happened. Is that true? It is. No matter how much I try, I can't recall anything. What is the last thing you remember? I believe I was leaving my meeting with the High Speaker and His Majesty. After the meeting, I was planning to return to the nave to speak with my father, but I suddenly felt extremely nauseous. I thought some fresh air might help me feel better, so I went to the balcony. The one over Lake Galakrun? Yes, that one. The last thing I remember was losing consciousness as I looked at the lake. And did you cast any magic before this happened? No, I didn't. Are you sure you don't remember anything after that? I don't. All I remember is waking up to the sound of someone sobbing. It was Celeste. She was crying over your unconscious body, Mr. Cuthbert. Okay. I feel like we've completely ruled out Mage Blight, so I doubt that's why you can't remember anything. Are there any spells that can specifically modify or destroy people's memories? It would certainly explain a lot of this. No, arcane spells can only affect the physical world. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind. There is no record history of any of them succeeding, but you're assuming that arcane spells are the only type of magic that exists. What? I think you've observed it already. There are magical creatures in this world that don't use arcane magic. Isn't that right, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Does you know about the Eye of Horus? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. Don't take me for a fool. Several of my associates attended Frega's trial, and they all heard what that demon referred to you as. Heavensborn. If I learned that Luminia had anything to do with this... Your Grace, I'm not an agent of the theocracy. And even if what you're saying is true, I wasn't the one who manipulated Steelwind's memories. But I suppose you raise a good point. If something affected Steelwind's memories, it wasn't necessarily an arcane spell. In fact, it couldn't have been an arcane spell. It was definitely something else. You're probably right. Which proves that I'm responsible for the murders. What? You just said that you don't have any memories of what happened. Why are you so convinced that you're responsible for this? I told the Inquisition already. I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She's clearly involved in this somehow. There's more to this than you realize, Mr. Cuthbert. For the past few months, the Inquisition and I have been investigating a strings of seemingly unrelated murders. During each of those cases, we were able to apprehend the perpetrator without issue. But there is always something off about them during questioning. The murders always abnormally gruesome and passionate, and each of the perpetrators said the same thing. They all said that they had no choice. No choice. Cases like this have been occurring throughout Wyverngard, and very little connects the perpetrators to each other. All except one thing. Each of them acted as if someone had controlled them against their will. They were probably just desperate. Most murderers tried to make excuses after they're caught. They could have just been in complete denial. Orium said the same thing, but these cases are far too similar for me to ignore. I wondered if they were telling the truth. Perhaps each of these murders was committed by an unknown party. I didn't have any concrete evidence, but I knew I was getting closer to something. Steelwind, I don't mean to be rude, but this sounds completely insane. You don't even have any physical evidence to prove these murders are connected. There's one piece of evidence, but it's hardly concrete. But it does tie each of these cases together. She takes out a small parchment from her pocket and shows it to you. The fuck is this? It's a purple symbol. That kind of looks like a claw. Several of the people we arrested had an item with this symbol on it. None of them could remember where it came from or even what it was. But they all somehow knew it was called the Purple Mark. But there has to be an explanation for this. It could just be some word I can't say, superstition that we don't know about. If that's true, then ask yourself one thing. Where did I get this parchment from? You don't mean... I found it in my pocket after I was properly confined. Whoever I've been chasing must have left it there to taunt me. For all I know, they could have controlled my body and forced me to draw this symbol myself. Either way, this all but proves the massacre at the cathedral is related to it. Oh, jeez. I don't want to dismiss what you said, but this definitely won't hold up in court. Nor should it. Yeah, we're model siblings now. I got a little, this is the free to use one though, but I do eventually plan on getting an actual one commissioned once I have like the money saved up. But this is just the free to use one for now. I find it super cute. Nor should it. If my mind has been compromised, I can't take the risk of leaving this dungeon. Otherwise, I could end up harming more people. Oh wait, are you planning to spend the rest of your life in prison? If that is what is necessary to keep everyone safe. But what about Aster? Weren't you two supposed to be married soon? He's the king now, and you can't rule Wyvern Guard alongside him from a holding cell. You're correct, but he's always been a remarkable person. He should have no problem finding another suitress. You feel an overwhelming sadness emanating from her as she says that. Aria. No. What? You're not going to sacrifice everything for someone else's actions. Mr. Cuthbert, I am not going to risk more lives. If I were to hurt His Majesty, I would never be able to forgive myself. Please don't ask that of me. Steven is going to throw away everything she cares about for the greater good. Even if she was the one who did all this, she's not the one who's responsible. You can't let her resign herself to a fate like this. Let's go! Argument. Argument. Steven acts for the greater good of the kingdom, regardless of the amount of suffering she must endure in doing so. She's deeply in love with Aster and will do anything to protect him. However, she's still a rational person and will be receptive to logical arguments. Steelwind, are you seriously just going to throw your life away? If it were necessary, I would give my life for this kingdom. If someone controlled my actions today, they can and will do so again. A villain controlled my mind. And as long as that possibility exists, I can't trust myself. That's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They're still out there. But that's assuming this person can continue doing so. We don't know how this mind control works. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. Do you even understand what you're saying? You will lose every... No, I don't think she cares about that. That's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They could still be out there. If that's true, you are fully capable of finding that out yourself. As I've said, I have no memories of what happened. I'm sure one day you will be able to find out what happened. But she'll have already lost everything by then. Okay, let's doubt. But that's assuming this person can continue to do so. You said so yourself. You haven't found any evidence to prove your theory. We don't know how this mind control works, and we don't have enough information. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. I suppose you're right, but I doubt there was any goal to this. The person responsible is just a sadistic killer. I've been investigating these murders for months, and I've never been able to find any personal clues as to who the perpetrator is. There's no way to connect them to this. Whoever did this was a sadistic individual who wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. You know? So I'm trying to prove they're not aimless. Okay. Let my brain think. Yeah, there's all the compodiums. There's Beatrice's actions. There's the dude's testimony. They only targeted the 3 houses. Well, technically, they targeted all 4 houses, if you think about it, because they controlled ARIA. But how do I prove it wasn't aimless? Well, no. Targeted 3 houses because you're not a major house. So why'd they kill you? Because you had information, that's right. So, how do I prove this? Aimless means random. Do you have anything that says it wasn't random? I do, but that's a lot of shit right now. I'm trying to think of how to narrow it down. Because he targeted all 3 of these guys. Garrick Pierce, Coraline Sybil, and Lloyd Von Sanctus. He killed all 3 of them. Right? I'll catch you up here, Dragon. So he killed... Garrick Pierce is a part of a minor nobility house. But Coraline and Lloyd Von Sanctus were a part of 2 of the major houses. And technically, they also targeted ARIA because she is about to be married to the king, and she's a part of another major, one of the pillar houses. And it sounds like they used ARIA and Beatrice, who are part of the houses. So I'm trying to figure out how to narrow it down, because that is a lot of things that proves that it wasn't aimless. Because it's just something. It's a something. Oh, wait. I know. Because when she attacked the prince, she didn't kill him. That's not true, Steelman. Whoever did this had very specific targets in mind. Both Prince Alaric and the High Speaker saw you when the murders were being committed. Not to mention, they set a trap for Aster. What? Let's assume that someone was controlling you. They wouldn't have left Alaric, Archias, or Aster alive if they were trying to kill as many people as possible. I suppose you have a point there. But even so, they hardly narrows things down. If someone was controlling me, they wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to use me. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Perhaps you're right, and the perpetrator only wanted to murder the 3 victims. There's plenty of people who might want to see those 3 dead. This thing. There's one thing you're overlooking. Before the murder started, someone trapped Aster with a force cage using Glyph of Contingency. But they didn't harm him. It was probably just a distraction. Even so, this gives us 2 very important clues. The first is that whoever did this is capable of casting those 2 spells. This means that the perpetrator was a mage. That's true. But the second clue is the most important one. Whoever set the trap for Aster, they did so within 24 hours of it triggering. This means that the perpetrator must have been someone who attended the funeral. So it was one of them? That narrows down our list of suspects substantially. There's a chance we can identify who did this. And if they really did control your actions, we can find a way to prevent them from doing so again. Steelwind, you need to fight this. I can't. What? Why not? Fighting this will put people in danger. If we pursue an individual like this, they might retaliate even more than they already have. They wanted to remove me from my position. How will they react if I try to resist? They might hurt even more people to send a message. It's far too dangerous. We can't back down in the face of injustice. If we let the perpetrator get away with this, we're letting them know that their actions will go unanswered. I doubt someone like that would go that far. They might decide to lay low. No, I highly doubt that. Whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you, and you have no guarantee that they'll stop here. Who would they target next? Your father, the king? Threaten. Whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you, and you have no guarantee that they'll stop here. 3 nobles died today, and 2 of them were near the top of the political hierarchy. What if they decide to go after more victims? Who would they target next? Your father, the king? We need to catch them before they can do more harm. I know you're frightened about what might happen to the people close to you, but we can't let someone that dangerous get away with this. Ha, when you put it that way, I suppose I have no other choice, do I? Ha, finally. That was scary. I never realized it before, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You really have a bad habit of butting your nose into other people's businesses, don't you? Yeah, I suppose I do. But you're right. We can't let this go. I'll find a way to dispute this, somehow. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. I think we've known each other long enough. You don't need to be so formal. You've successfully... There is a ding. I don't know why that ding made me happy. Perhaps I misjudged you. Misjudged me? Okay, Allie, if we ever get into an argument, I expect your sisters to hold up big red and blue bars above our heads and use scissors to cut them as we get more and more worn down. But you'd win because you're older than me. Or maybe I'd win because I'm younger. Now my brain broke. I know I agreed to fight this, but what is it? You're the most qualified attorney in the nobility. You'll definitely be able to make a case for yourself. As you probably know, House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom. And they've nominated my father as the prosecutor for my trial. Oh, jeez. I get to fight her dad now. What? No one believes my theory of mind control. Everyone believes that I overspent my magic and gave myself mage blight. As a result, they blame House Steelwind for Coraline Sybil's death. Now, the only way for him to redeem House Steelwind is to convict me and sentence me to death. But he's your father. There's no way he would. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. When I was a child, my mother accidentally overused her magic and induced mage blight within herself. In her resulting psychotic episode, she massacred an entire village of commoners. No. House Steelwind almost lost everything after that. To redeem himself, my father personally oversaw my mother's trial and her execution. My father values his duty to Wyverngard over everything else. Nothing matters more to him than that, not even his family. I want to have confidence in myself, but I don't think I can face him like this. Mr. Cuthbert, what is your stake in all this? What? You hate the nobility, don't you? So why are you so intent on helping Miss Steelwind? Because she's innocent. I know she is. She would never be irresponsible enough to give herself mage blight. Mr. Cuthbert, it doesn't matter if she's a noble or a commoner. She's being oppressed by the system, and she deserves a fair trial. Well said. What? I, Remus Virgili, hereby grant you the privilege to serve as Miss Steelwind's counsel. That's why you came with me? Wait, really? I will be acting as the judge and arbiter of Miss Steelwind's trial. It is within my right to grant such permissions. Thank you. But why would you? Do you think I've made a mistake? No, of course not. I'll serve as Steelwind's attorney, if she will have me. Of course. There's no one else I would trust more with this. Aw, look at her smile. And please, you've done a lot for me already. You don't have to be so formal. Please, call me by my first name. Celeste has already taken doing that. But since you'll be defending me, you'll probably need this. ARIA's spell compodium has been added to your notes. What does she know? Mend wounds, firebolt, shape liquid, dispel magic, steel wind strike, detect magic, polymorph, and hold creature. We've definitely seen her use hold creature in a trial before. Let's see. Okay, firebolt, yeah. Hold creature, yeah. Steel wind strike. The caster strikes targets of their choice within a 40-foot radius with a slashing force. Each slash has the might and power of a mage blade and can cut through thick metal armor. It's the ultimate spell of House Steelwind, and its spell formula is a closely guarded secret. Vulnus. Interesting. Hey, the foggy! Dispel magic. And then it's settled. We will hold the trial at my home, the city of Ladon. Ladon? I've never heard of that place. Speak with Lucio. He knows the location well. Before you can ask any more questions, the Archduke leaves without a word. He really has a bad habit of just walking away from conversations. But I guess we should consider ourselves lucky. Even if it's unorthodox, this situation will let us approach this like any other trial. You had no idea what you were getting in for when you agreed to this, and what proceeded next would be unlike any trial you've ever been in. But even so, you persevered as you've always done in the name of justice, regardless of what you'd have to sacrifice to do so. Excuse me. Yes, I would like to save, because unfortunately I have to end the stream, but excuse me. Excusez-moi. Does this game have any sound? I was just told it was too loud. You telling me now you guys can't hear it? What? What? Yes, because we already saved. Get me out of here. You telling me you guys can't hear it? You guys lied to me? You guys made me turn it down too low? I didn't mean to close it out all the way. Whoops.